Hey guys, I am Brett's King's podcast host, Alan Nagel, and on this podcast, we always talk about feminism. We always touch upon feminism, and feminists have been accusing us of not understanding feminism or painting feminism in a bad light. I do understand that some feminists are worse than others. But what the feminists against those hardcore feminists don't understand is they should be an egalitarian. Straightforward, they should be. Feminists like to say that feminism is the want for both genders to be equal, but the definition is the advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of political, social, and economic equality to men. Equality to men, anyways. But I'd say that women and men are pretty much politically, economically, and socially equal in America. The wage gap does not exist. If you believe in the wage gap, you know nothing about economics. Ask anybody who knows anything about economics in America, and they will tell you that the wage gap does not exist. The wage gap is flawed, and that's why feminists always portray the wage gap in a different light. They say that it's 67 cents to the dollar, to 77 cents to the dollar, or 72 cents to the dollar. I've heard a number because feminists can't get the number right because it's just not true. I do understand that women are not politically, economically, and socially equal to men in other countries. Islam countries where Islam is prominent, but feminists always defend Islam. If you want to stop that, we have to stop Islam. I'm sorry, I don't look at a Muslim and say he's a bad person or she's a bad person. I could be friends with them, I could like them, I care about them as a person. But the thing is, they are a step away from being an extremist just because of what it says in their book and just because of what that religion believes. So quit defending that country if you want women to be equal in those countries. But anyways, we don't need feminism for that. The thing is, in 10 years from now, what if all that's banished and men aren't equal? Are we just going to make up meninists, or are we going to all switch to men's rights activists? Instead of using a balance beam to go back and forth between what we call ourselves, egalitarianism stops it dead in its tracks. It just says that both genders should be equal. Blatantly supports both genders. Feminism, they always tout that they're for men. If they were for men, then their prefix would not be fem. A men's rights activist isn't going to say that men's rights activism is for women, because then, if it was, it wouldn't have men's in the title. Feminists like to say that feminism is for men because, from a young age, boys are taught to hide their feelings, and feminism lets them express that. The thing with feminism is they think these problems are huge. They think that they're like the biggest problems in the world, and we need to put all of our chips into problems like these. But these are emotional problems. These are not logical problems. We need to look logically and not look emotionally. For example, like I wouldn't be crying if somebody said I can't express myself. Guess what I would do? Express myself. Because if somebody thinks I can express myself, I shouldn't value their opinion. They're obviously stupid. I should value their opinion because I care about them and what they think will affect me in the downline. But I shouldn't let their opinion affect my self-esteem, especially if they're stupid enough to believe something like that. But feminists always let everyone impact their self-esteem. And the funny thing about that is feminism claims to be empowering. If feminism was empowering, then most of the people who proclaim themselves to be feminists wouldn't be depressed and insecure. Feminism is not empowering. Feminism is a lie. Feminism is an illusion. You're not empowering because you sit there and scream about rape like rape is just a huge problem, and everywhere you go, rape happens. Robbery actually happens more than rape. I don't see people saying they're triggered when somebody talks about a robbery. I don't see people making poems about how they were robbed and it's so bad. Look, and I'm not saying rape isn't a serious issue. Rape is a serious issue. But it's not something that is as common as feminists portray it to be, because feminists are great at exaggerating. Once again, people are going to be like, that's only a certain kind of feminist. Listen, there shouldn't have to be certain kinds of feminists. There shouldn't have to be waves when there's egalitarianism out there with no waves, with no gender prefix, where the definition makes sense, where it'll always be the same and it'll always be relevant in society. The fact that egalitarianism exists should have totally wiped away feminism and should have totally wiped away men's rights activism. I think more feminists are sexist than they think. Like how a lot of feminists think that men's opinion shouldn't be valued because they're men and they didn't have to go through what women go through. Everyone's opinion should be valued. Feminists try to make me feel bad for being a white male. They say, you're so lucky. I'm not fucking lucky. I'm comfortable with who I am. If I was anyone, I would be comfortable with who I am because I'm not a crybaby like feminists are. I do my problems. I get rid of them and I solve issues. Feminists cry about them. I'm not going to sit here and cry about issues like feminists do. That's why I will never be a feminist, because feminists think emotionally. Like, I just presented a bunch of ways in which feminism is flawed, but they're still going to grasp for straws and try to argue for feminism rather than listen. Feminists don't listen. They argue. They want to feel right. They don't want to be right. I could go on and on and on and on and on about feminism for hours. I'm going to try to keep this video like under 15 minutes. Let me read this comment. So I made a Facebook post about how much I hated feminists. Me and this girl were arguing about the side of egalitarianism versus feminists. And here's what she said. She said, tell me why 19.4% of Congress is women, even though we make up more than half the U.S. population. That's because men are more interested in politics. They're more interested in being involved in politics. That's not sexist. That's a fact. That's a statistic. Men like to be politicians more. Okay? If you're going to be like, how come there's never been a women president? There hasn't been a lot of female presidential candidates. And the ones that we have just didn't know how to market themselves, or they were just bad candidates. Not because they were women, because they didn't know how to market themselves, so they were bad candidates. She says, tell me why I was taught how to prevent being raped, but why my little brother, along with a ton of guys, weren't taught not to rape, and what rape really is. So let's answer this question. I don't know why you were taught how to prevent being raped, because rape isn't likely to happen to you. So there's your answer to that. Your little brother wasn't taught not to rape, because you're not going to sit somebody down and say, hey, don't rape, the same way I'm not going to sit somebody down and say, hey, don't murder, because most people know it's a bad thing, obviously. And what rape really is. Feminists usually grow the definition of rape. I've heard rape be a compliment in the definition of feminist. I heard rape being like when a girl said that her friend was raped, so she felt raped too. So feminists are the ones that don't know what rape really is, if you look at it objectively. And she said, tell me why female genital mutilation is still practiced in 29 countries. They're probably Islam countries. Stop fighting for Islam then, bitch. Here's the other question. Tell me why in plenty of Middle Eastern countries a woman can be sent to college typically at the price of being killed or disfigured. I don't know. They're probably Islam countries. And she said, there's your logic, Alan, because I was telling her to quit using emotions. But what did she just do? She just used emotions. If she heard my argument right now, she would still be thinking emotionally, and she would be mad, quite frankly. I could sit here and I could sit here calm with her, and we could just have a discourse. But feminists don't want discourse. They want to be emotional. And once you're emotional, you get attachment to something, and you want to argue for it and not look at the counter arguments. And she said, so quit being fucking ridiculous and realize we still need to fight for women. I do realize that we still need to fight for women in other countries. We don't need feminism for that. Feminism is extremely flawed. Just look at the people who are on it. Look at Tumblr if you don't think feminism is flawed. And she said, by the way, if you're an egalitarian, you're a feminist. No, I'm not. If you're an egalitarian, you're an egalitarian. If you're a feminist, you're an emotional fucking bitch. She said, women are the ones being denied personhood. Yeah, in Islam countries, and are far more likely to be subjected to oppression, not men. No, that's not true. Probably in Islam countries, that's true. Quit fighting for Islam then. Quit protecting Islam. I'm not saying every Muslim is bad. You're the one that draws that conclusion, because that's stupid. What I am saying is Islam is a horrid religion, full of violent teachings, and I don't need to hide that fact just because Islam is popular. She said, when men get pregnant and have their choices dictated by women, we'll talk. Cool. So That's it, guys. I'm a men's rights activist because men are less likely to get custody of babies. Oh my god, that's so sexist. No, I'm egalitarian because I'm not going to flip between what gender has it worse all the time. I'm just going to look at it logically and say, this gender has it worse, then egalitarian fixes it. If this gender has it worse, then egalitarian fixes it. You cannot say feminism argues for men's problems. It has the prefix fem. That makes no fucking sense. What men are killed for going to school? None. Because Islam thinks women should be killed for going to school. She said, yeah, we'll talk. Oh, yeah. And when 9 out of 10 rape victims are men, again, we'll talk. That's not true at all. 9 out of 10 rape victims are not women. It's just that men are less likely to come out with it because they're more likely to be judged. And here she goes. I hear her right now. I hear it in her head. She's like, well, feminism fights for. What feminists do is they put out an argument, it gets argued against, and then they fish and they reach and they just keep on reaching for another way to make their arguments look better. But you're reaching. Don't argue. She said, don't you dare argue that women don't need feminism. Guess what? Women don't need feminism. No one needs feminism. Feminism is cancer. I am Alan Nagel. I am signing out. Check the Brett's Kings podcast. I am uploading episode 3 as we speak. We're going to have Raphael's going on a break. It's going to be me and some guests in the future. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Link to the Twitter and stuff. Thank you for watching.